Hey, welcome to the New Home Insights podcast by John Burns Real Estate Consulting. I'm Dean Worley, your host. Each episode, we're going to bring you some of the best minds in the housing business talking about some fascinating topics or trend or innovation or issue, just like the one you're about to listen to. Enjoy. Hey, this is Dean Worley from the New Home Insights podcast. Today's episode is about the Margaritaville concept by Minto Homes with Bill Bullock. It was recorded prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, so there's a little something outdated, but it's a great story. Bill has some great insights, so we thought it'd be worthwhile to air it, and we hope you enjoy it. Plus, maybe more importantly, Bill twice told me that I asked a, quote, great question. And let's remember, this is mostly about me. So please enjoy today's podcast. Today, we have someone who gets to go to Jimmy Buffett concerts as homework, which is very cool. We have Bill Bullock. He's the president of Latitude Margaritaville, which is an arm of Minto Communities that is building some of the funnest master plan communities in the entire world. Bill, please say hi and give us a bit better introduction than I just did of you.
Well, thank you for having me. Like you said, I work for Minto Communities. I've been with Minto for a little more than 10 years and based in Florida.
So let's start at the foundation here for Latitude Margaritaville. What exactly is a Margaritaville community?
So, there are active adult communities all over the U.S. and there have been for 50 plus years. And what's ironic, in 2010, we actually acquired Sun City Center Tampa. And that was one of the very first Del Webbs ever built. And we acquired the last 1,000 units to ever be built in that community and celebrated its 50th birthday and learned a tremendous amount from where the buyer, from an active adult perspective, had matured to, and some pretty unique stories there. Being an older active adult community started back 50 years ago, they had shuffleboard and the old stale clubhouses. So we came in and took over. First thing we did is we asked the residents, what do you guys want? And they said, we want fun. Yeah. We like this new game called pickleball. And I'm like, well, what the heck is pickleball? And they introduced us to pickleball, which is one of the top growing sports in the nation right now, especially for active adults. So point being, and going through the story on acquiring Sun City, it really laid the groundwork for our expansion into other markets with active adult housing. So as we started to build through the final 1,000 lots of Sun City, we said, there's a lot of benefit in having a large scale active adult community. You can do amenities that are meaningful from a competitive geographic standpoint. You got to have critical mass. The key is affordability. Sun City Center Tampa was very affordable. That's why it sold so well. And the active lifestyle, folks didn't want to be, coined as heaven's waiting room, which some of the older active adults had turned into. That community was going through a regeneration, if you will, being 50 years old. It had gone through 2 or 3 cycles. Yeah. So, we kind of put all that in the mixing bowl, and we said, if we want to have a successful active adult community in today's age, it needs to be vibrant. It needs to be fun. It needs to be youthful. It needs to be large enough to have critical mass for good amenities. It needs to be, close to interstates and airports because these people like to move around. They like to travel. And it needs to be positioned in a location where you can get critical mass, but still offer affordable housing because, and we've done a tremendous amount of survey work, these folks are looking for housing from the 150 to 350,000 price point range.
Awesome. And so Daytona Beach was ground zero. That was the first one. I think you've done it in Hilton Head, right? Water Sound, Florida, and I believe one is coming up in Panama City, Florida.
So we started Daytona about 2 years ago. About 6 months after that start, launched our Hilton Head position. Wow. And both those are a little north of 3,000 units. And Water Sound is Panama City.
Oh, so, got it. Okay.
We're partnered with the St. Joe Company, who has an incredible land holding up in the Panhandle.
And so far, I mean, I know this answer, but maybe a lot of our listeners do not. Tell us about the reception to these communities so far, especially in terms of those pesky little details like sales and price point.
I've been in the business for 25 years and been through downturns and upturns, and I saw, folks camp out in 2004 and five, and buying 4 and 5 investment homes at a whack, and we know where that led us, and I don't want to go down that road, but that was a different level of excitement than what we saw when we opened up Daytona, and so once I had gone through all those campouts in the 2004-5, they kind of led to like, do you really want to do that again? Is that the sign of the wrong thing? So we had an overwhelming response of people who wanted to be first to buy in Daytona, Latitude, Margaritaville. So we did the camp out, and it was amazing. I mean, these were people genuinely interested in buying a single home, their retirement home. We put up a big tent. We played movies all night. We brought in pizza, and it was an amazing exercise in psychology, if you will. Those people became a community that night under the tent. Huh. They put their chairs in line with where they were going to buy their house. First chair up, number one position, okay. Chair number 50, et cetera. And we saw people actually move themselves down in line to someone they had met that night, so that they would be next to the person in line, so they could both buy a lot next to one another. I've never seen anything like that. So
that's amazing. They're making like neighbors/friends in line,
camping out, waiting to buy a home. It's truly amazing. Exceptional, and that translates into a very, very close-knit community today. These folks have a shared vision of what community and lifestyle means to them, and they're experiencing it every day. From a customer standpoint, we have some of the highest results in the nation, and it's because we have very happy people who want to be in that environment.
That's amazing. I've never seen that. I mean, I remember the campout days too, but this was not a time where there's a lot of campouts when you were introducing Daytona, and B, I've seen some of those campouts as well, and you're not seeing people make friends. In fact, kind of the opposite.
Exactly.
So I know you guys have an interest list that is it's an appreciable portion of the nation. Literally, it could be counted on the census. Tell us about that, and tell us about what who is buying at Margaritaville. Who are they? Where are they coming from?
Sure. So we have north of 300,000 people on our interest list. It keeps growing every day. We do some pretty exciting promotions. We sponsor the U.S. Open Pickleball Championship. We've done 2 back-to-back years on Wheel of Fortune with a home giveaway. And every time we do anything in the public's eye, the media loves to pick it up because it's Margaritaville. And so that list keeps growing. But specifically who's buying, well, it's 55 and better. So that kind of tells you the age. It's a very young demographic. It's a very active demo. Depending on where you are, either, in Florida, I-95, you tend to pull from the Northeast, I-75, Panama City, you tend to pull from the Midwest. What's unique about Watersound, Panama City, it opens up the Texas market. I mean, Texans have always been coming to Florida, but Texans really love the Emerald Coast, Panama City beaches. So we're already seeing a lot of interest from Texas, but it's your traditional feeder markets. Florida is our biggest source. 50% of our buyers are Floridians relocating from within the state. But from there it goes, New York, New Jersey, Chicago, Midwest. But what's really unique this go around on our interest list, our number 5 top state is California. And not to pick on California, but the price of housing in California is higher compared to Florida. And we're seeing a lot of folks say, you know what, my retirement, I want to live in a state with no income tax, and I want to take some of that money that I have in the form of equity in a home in California and reposition it in other ways outside of real estate. So that's a unique trend to see California register that high.
Yeah, it is. I mean, mostly you think even if they retire in state, it's usually the desert like Palm Springs, or they go to Arizona. I mean, they're renowned for being part of that Arizona exodus, but Florida, you don't traditionally hear a lot of. So that's a draw. That's a reach. That's amazing. Speaking of draws, what are kind of the biggest draws to living at Latitude Margaritaville? I've heard that you have something like 12 concerts a week. 12, which I feel like maybe, Bill, you're overindulging your residents a little bit, if that's true. But is that
Well,
one of the biggies?
we have four pillars. It's called food, fun, music, and escapism, and that's really the foundation for what the community is built on. And it is true. We have 12 concerts a week. We'll do at the pool during the day at our Latitude Bar and Grill. Live music at the pool, and then in the afternoons we have a full band shell concert green. Everybody comes in there decked out golf carts, and they're grabbing a margarita, and we have a 3, 4, 5-piece full band. So last Sunday, this past Sunday, Mac McAnally, part of the Jimmy Buffett Core River Band, showed up and did a concert. So not only are we able to bring in local talent, we're also bringing in well-known talent. And then the food component, we have a full-service restaurant on site, fitness, resort pool, getting ready to start an indoor pool. In the case of Daytona, we actually have a beach club, which is under construction. We'll have a shuttle that takes you from the community out to the beach, which is pretty unique for an active adult community. So there's a lot of attraction there, but the commonality in the residents, they have a certain... I think they walk in the door with a certain concept of what Margaritaville lifestyle means to them, and so when they get there, they're immediately surrounded by friends who want the same things out of retirement lifestyle, and it's our job to deliver it, and so far so good.
And tequila is one of those things. I'm thinking
it doesn't hurt.
So really, you have this sort of built-in. I know it's not truly built-in. I mean, it came about organically, but you've thought it out laboriously. But you have this theme that provides this cohesion that really every master plan is looking for, but is hard to find. You, with the concept, it gives you that sort of automatically. Is that fair?
Yeah, you've got an iconic recognition with Jimmy Buffett and Margaritaville. You've got tremendous IP, intellectual property, which you can build off of. And that's a double-edged sword. I mean, you just can't stick Margaritaville up on the side of the building and paint the houses Key West colors and think you're done. Yeah. I mean, every element of planning, down to lifestyle calendars and food offerings, all have to be on brand. So it takes a monumental effort to do that, both from Minto and our partners at Margaritaville, who are fully invested in what we're doing. Yeah. We're on the phone with them multiple times a week in meetings to keep that authentic.
Okay. Now, with a lot of age-qualified or active adult communities, the biggest competition really isn't other active adult communities, but it's aging in place. Folks just deciding to stay put and maybe retrofit their home. Is that your biggest competition to get folks into Margaritaville?
They are competition. We're keenly aware of that, and that's phase 2 of our deployment. We'll be going to what you're talking about, aging in place locations, maybe not a much different variant, but a sized appropriate variant where we can go to some of these markets where you're going to support something 500,000 units, et cetera.
Now, okay, I should know this, I suppose, but how involved is Jimmy Buffett himself? I mean, is he in the trenches? Is he in their planning? Is he is he play a concert every once in a while? Or how big a part is he?
So that's a great question. He's very busy with his concert schedule, but he's been out to the community, I think, 5 or 6 separate times. He was there while we were under development. He's named the streets. Oh, wow. He actually owns a house in Daytona. It was very cool. Out of nowhere, he just popped in the community one day and started knocking on residents' doors and said, "Hi, I'm your neighbor, Jimmy Buffett." And they couldn't believe it.
That would be amazing.
So he's not just a name attached to the brand. He's very involved.
Was the reaction? I remember those old commercials where they brought the huge fake check to the doors and people started screaming. Was it that kind of reaction?
Totally. And when not to talk too much about Jimmy, but when he shows up in normal persona clothes, he has his hat on and his sunglasses. Sometimes people don't immediately recognize him, and they go, "Oh, you're pulling my leg." He goes, "No, I'm really Jimmy Buffett." So some was shock and disbelief, and some was, "What are you trying to pull over on me?" But he'd go in and sit down with them and have a drink, and he's an extremely personable guy.
Now, I'm not gonna lie. I've never been a huge Jimmy Buffett fan. Do you have to love Jimmy Buffett music? For instance, do you have to know a song in addition to Cheeseburger in Paradise and Margaritaville? Or is it?
Actually, when you sign the contract, you have to name 10 songs.
Oh my
Now,
God.
in all seriousness, we strive to maintain a balance. The Margaritaville lifestyle is Jimmy Buffett, but it means a lot to a lot of different people, and we have a good component. Probably half of our residents who are not what is termed parrotheads, diehard Jimmy Buffett fans. They like the components, the food, fun, the escapism that we talked about. And some of them, and then there's been several articles written that, the press has gone out and asked, what brought you to the community? Well, the price, the concept, the lifestyle. And they flat out go on record saying, we don't necessarily like Jimmy Buffett music. We don't know any of these songs. We love living here. We love what it represents. And actually, now that we're hearing some of his music, we kind of like it. But when we're doing our interviews for bands and entertainment, we make sure they play all kinds of music. And if you've ever listened to Radio Margaritaville on XM Sirius Channel 24, they purposely play a huge mix of music. It's not all 100% Jimmy Buffett. So it's a fine balance, and one that Margaritaville is keenly aware of and helps us navigate so that we're as equally attractive to those who want to hear Jimmy's music 24/7 and those who may not.
That's good. If my wife and I become part of that exodus from California to Florida one day, that's good to know, because I asked her if she could name any Jimmy Buffett songs, and she said Margaritaville, and then she said the Pina Colada song, and that could get her in big, big trouble, I think.
But actually, I can't tell you how many times I've heard that exact statement. So she's not alone.
It seems like it should be a Jimmy Buffett song. How do you assess a market? You've mentioned a little bit about this just a few minutes ago. The affordability, the market size. Just real quick, if you could recap kind of how you assess a given market or even a location for Margaritaville, for its potential acceptance of Margaritaville concept.
Okay, that's another great question. So there's 5 or 6 check boxes. Initially, in this first phase of deployment, it's a piece of property that's meaningful in size, or large enough in size, so we can do something meaningful from an amenity standpoint. Because you're competing across the nation, Arizona, the villages, you name it. So, and we think that critical mass is north of 1,000 units. 3,000 seems to be working very well for us right now, and that allows you to do a full-blown town center and then some adjacent public neighborhood retail, which in the case of Daytona Beach, we have a 2,000 square foot retail center that's just opened, anchored by Publix. And so you can get in your golf cart and you can drive there and get your groceries, but then you can always go back to the private town center and get the food, fun, and the music. So size is critically important. Paying the right price for the land so you can offer product. And we just launched a new product line in Daytona called the Conch Cottages, and they start at $209. So, now we're from the very, very low 200s to approaching 400. So that's a broad spectrum of pricing, which, our buyer has told us that's what they're looking for. The access to transportation is huge. Again, interstates and airports. And if you look at Hilton Head, you're on 95, you can jump down to Savannah, you're in Atlanta International Airport, and you can go anywhere in the world. Same with Daytona, you've got OIA, Orlando International Airport, and you've got I-95. 74,000 people a day drive by Daytona Beach. And, a long time ago, a lot of folks would use billboards. And well, now you got social media and the internet. Well, an amazing thing happened. We started putting billboards up on the interstates. And you put a flip-flop in Margaritaville, people notice it because it's iconic. And our drive-by traffic is, triple what we see in any other community. So, some of those older techniques actually start working again. Access to medical is key. You got to be 5-10 minutes from urgent care medical because of the demographic. They like to have fun, not only in the community, but outside the community. So shopping and entertainment districts. And then continuing education is big for these folks. And in both Hilton Head, we've got University of South Carolina, and then there's 8 colleges in Daytona, believe it or not. So all those, when mixed together, are what we call, the imperfect ingredient for siding our communities.
8 colleges in Daytona? I'm not going to lie. I'm
Yep,
going to have to
8
look that
colleges
up.
and universities. They have an
Wow.
aeronautical university, you name it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. That's interesting. So, okay, without giving away any state secrets, we'll wrap it up with this question. Where would you go with this concept, or maybe not go? And why? And again, please don't tell us what the next Margaritaville is, unless you can. But are you going to be branching out beyond the Florida and the Southeast?
I think at this point, we've got a good foothold, beachhead, if you will, in Florida between what we're doing in Daytona Beach and just the sheer scale of what water sound could become. And then there's land for 170,000 entitlements up there, and when you think about that, you're talking a whole city.
Yeah.
There's undeniable music connection between Margaritaville and Jimmy Buffett. You start thinking about places like Austin or Nashville, which have a huge music component. Those are logical next destinations. Where we wouldn't go, and I probably get a call a week. I've got this great piece of property. It's on a lake. And I start going through the 5 criteria. Well, are you close to an interstate? No. Do you have medical? No. Where do you go shopping? Well, but it's a great lake. And so this isn't necessarily the remote resort location that you fly in and you kick your shoes off and get away from everything. We're looking for resort locations that are in close proximity to the criteria I mentioned. So not every location is suited for what we're doing. But like I said, the music connection, and I hope I didn't give too many hints away there. And then, I think phase 2.0 is smaller iterations of this in key markets where people want to age in place. And we've definitely identified and get a lot of feedback from our survey work that there's high demand for that.
I think I do get the hint on the music connection. You guys are going to Detroit, Michigan. Am I right? Did I get it?
You nailed it.
I'm just curious. Have you thought about any other like lifestyle connections, like a Rolling Stones community or something like that?
It's interesting. We've been contacted by a slew of different folks,
really?
Golfers, musicians. It would be a disservice to our partners with Margaritaville to even entertain those. I welcome anybody who has those opportunities to attempt to do it. What we're doing with Margaritaville and the lifestyle is pretty unique. Would you do an Elvis Presley community? I don't know, but what we wanted to do down here in Florida and take that tropical vibe and easy living, it fits like a glove, and we know it's deployable across the U.S. because so many people are constantly seeking that out.
Yeah, that really does make sense. I mean, it is that perfect connection between the vibe and the theme and what you're doing in terms of your housing product. It dovetails. It's perfect.
Well, I appreciate that.
Awesome. Well, Bill, this has been very, very, very helpful. I'm really most glad to hear that you don't have to necessarily like Jimmy Buffett music. That's important to me. Although I don't hate it. I just, I'm one of those, but that's good to know for the future, the hopefully distant future. We'll see.
Well, when you get ready to come out and take a look, let me know. I'll give you a first-hand tour.
I will. Thank you. Thank you very much. That has been New Home Insights Podcast. If you like us, please subscribe, rate, and review, and give us a nice 5 stars. If you did not like us, then don't do any of those things and just go listen to Joe Rogan. Bill, thanks again.
And thank you. I appreciate your time.
All right. Until next time. See you guys.